Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 320. My opponent here kicked off with e4, and we get into a kind of funny line. I was playing the Sicilian just because I've been doing those opening basics videos on the Sicilian, so trying to provide more examples. And my opponent played the rare move here, c4. So you could think of this as a Sicilian, or you could think of this as a symmetrical English, where white has played e4 on the second move. So it's actually in the opening book. If we go back and look at the other move order, if white played c4 first, and I play c5, which is the symmetrical response to the English, one of the main choices here, then he can play e4. It's the fourth choice here. So not a super popular opening, but still it's a legitimate line in the English. So we could think of this as either a Sicilian or an English, but in any case we get to this position. And not too often has this been played. I saw this once before, actually. There's another video early in the series, I think it's 20, in the 20s, I think, somewhere, where I played d6 on this move. In this game I played knight c6, but both d6 and knight c6 are reasonable moves here. They prevent this pawn from advancing, the e-pawn from advancing, and prepare the move knight f6, just preparing to get the other knight out and then continue normal development. Now, white could continue with knight c3, directly going for the d5 square. This is a real strong point that white has established. One thing you can say about putting these two pawns here is it's prevented me from playing d5, which is often a break move I like to play against the English. Now in the Sicilian I would be playing d6 typically, but anyway, my opponent played d3 here, just setting up his pawn triangle and waiting to develop his pieces. And it appears there's no great way to take advantage of this. I mean, it seems like black is equalized, so white has not got an advantage out of the opening, but it's not like white has made a mistake that he can be punished for or anything. So I just continue developing my pieces, and the game stays in the range of even. And after bishop e3, my opponent's next move, we are completely out of the opening book. Now bishop e3, probably not the most accurate move here, but let's see. It does attack a pawn. The engine thinks e6 is a good way to play here. I didn't spot this idea. e6 defends the pawn because it opens up a line for the bishop. So I play this move b6, which is probably not best then, and we go back to the range of even. So e6 would have been given black some edge, not a huge edge, but okay. b6, knight c3. We continue in normal lines for a while, just maintaining this rating of about even. Bishop to e2, e6 now. I want to keep his knight from coming to this square and maybe prepare the move d5 later and try and bust up the center. Of course, that move has to be timed. You want to do that at a point when your pieces are well posed to take advantage of the opening of the center. My opponent played f4 here, so setting up a kingside attack. And now the engine thinks d5 immediately is a good, thinks right now is a good time to play d5. I was still playing preparatory moves. So let's take a look at what would happen with d5 right away. Of course, there's a threat. Now that he's got a piece on e3 and a piece on c3, there's a threat to fork them with this pawn push. So he's got to do something about it. And d4 rather doesn't look like it's playable. Yeah, it just gives up the e-pawn. So bishop d2, he could retreat his bishop and allow me to close the center with d4, or he could take, and they're about even. So let's take a look at bishop d2, push the pawn to d4, knight to b5. This knight may be a bit stranded out here, but it is hitting on a couple of sensitive squares, and he can get in this pawn push with tempo. Knight d7. Knight d7, knight f3. Okay, so there's some sort of positional edge here. There's no immediate tactical refutation, it looks like, of this d5 move. The other way to play it would be c takes d5. e takes, and then bishop to d2, d4. Okay, this would be kind of similar. Knight could go back to b1 or forward to b5. And once again, I guess the engine feels this is a well, I shouldn't say the word feels. The engine calculates that this is a good position for black, but there's no immediate tactical win here. But anyway, so this would be a good time to push on with d5. I played bishop e7 first. I like to get my pieces out before opening up the center. And knight f3. And maybe I should have castled here too. The engine thinks castling is a good move in this position. So I played d4 here, d5 here. And okay, this keeps some advantage. And he plays e5, kicking my knight. And now I should push on with d4 or play knight g4 as a way to keep the advantage. I thought about this knight g4 move, and I thought the knight might be a bit stranded here, because after knight g4, well, he could just retreat his bishop back to d2. And now I could open up some lines over here, but it seems like later he's going to play this move and kick my knight back to a square where it's not so useful. But, okay, the engine likes this. And what I overlooked when I played knight to d7 is I'm actually losing a pawn here. I'm leaving this pawn hanging. He didn't take it right away. He played bishop f2, running away from the fork. And now I need to play d4, but I still was neglecting this fact that my pawn was hanging here, and I castled first. And so now he can just win a pawn, and he does. So I go like this. And so white's definitely better. He's a pawn up. The engine doesn't think it's maybe worth a full pawn, but anyway, it's something for white. And one thing is that this bishop has nowhere to go, so I'm going to lose the bishop pair as well as being down a pawn. So I try to stir up a little bit of trouble. Well, I develop my knight to a5, opening up this diagonal and putting pressure on the knight here. He takes, and then he castles. So far so good for white. He's got a good position here, where he's just a pawn up. But the game is not over. It's just a pawn at this point, and I keep developing my pieces. Rook to d8, put the rooks on open files. Plays b3, restricting the motion of my knight here. But the knight is probably going to come back to c6 anyway, this square. So I don't know if this move was really all that helpful. And now I play f6. So that was the point of getting the queen to this square. I always want to play f6 and try and bust up the center here. And he doesn't react to this in the best way. It looks like rook to e1 is a good way to play, or bishop to h4. Bishop to h4 is very interesting. It shuts down my plans to take the pawn in the center by just pinning. And there's two pieces on this diagonal that it's pinning. So it will take me quite a while to readjust after bishop h4. Or just putting something on the e file would also make sense. Instead, my opponent chose to play d4, which allows me to exchange here. Well, it still keeps an edge for white. So he took with the bishop. So it's taking with the bishop that was the mistake. So right here, rook to e1 again, queen to b1, probably bishop to h4 is still the move here. But the bishop on d4, even though it keeps his pawn up, it leaves things a bit weak here in the center. It's a very natural move, so understandable that he'd make that mistake. But the problem is now there's these various pins that are operating. So getting the queen out of this e file would have been a good idea before rounding up the pawn. If we think about it, white wants to get his pawn back after I take. But if he just moves the queen out of the way, then he can take that pawn back with no risk. And this pawn isn't going anywhere. He can't really go forward. All the squares are covered. It's attacked twice and not defended at all. So white is not going to have trouble rounding up that pawn, so there's no need to take it immediately. And he can play a preparatory move like queen to b1, just getting out of the pin. Okay, So white grabbed the pawn immediately, and now this allows me to get back in the game. So up until this point, well, I started out okay. I lost a pawn, and white was just better, and then this was a mistake, and now it's about even again. So back to where we started. But so I can grab this pawn in the center, and after he takes back, I can take his knight, and then take the pawn, and now he's got a very uncomfortable pin on the bishop, and he's got to do something about this. He plays rook to c1, so bishop takes e5 is the suggestion of the engine. It looks like the pin is so difficult to get out of that he's got to break it immediately and trade the queen for a piece and a rook. So bishop takes e5 is giving up the queen. But he did get a rook plus a bishop for the queen. No, wrong rook. Rook a takes d1. And now rook to d8 is something I could play to force an exchange. But the engine thinks this is about even. So he's got, I have a queen, a rook, and a knight, and he's got 2 rooks and 2 bishops. And the pawns are even, and the position is very symmetrical. So maybe white can hold this position. So already at this point, white is in trouble, and the only move to save it is bishop takes e5. So if we back up a bit, did white have some other way to play this? I guess this problem still started from bishop takes d4 after fe. Well, once again, he could still move the queen out of the way. Queen to e1. That's a little bit scary because that leaves a piece hanging. Queen to e1, rook takes f4. Why not queen to e1 and bishop takes? Oh, that's a neat trick. Queen to e1, and pawn takes bishop, loses to bishop here, check, and the attack on my undefended queen. So queen e1 is a tactical way to defend at this point. But just taking back is allowing me to take his knight. And then after I take the pawn, his only way to defend is to give up the queen. Okay, so he didn't give up the queen. Instead, he played rook to c1. And now I am winning. And I managed to keep the edge for the rest of the game. So I take this off. Maybe not the most accurate way to play. It says I should have taken with the rook first. Rook takes f3. Rook takes f3, and knight to c6. Hitting the pinned bishop. So that would be like this. This would be getting 2 pieces for the rook. So there are some interesting tactics here. So I guess I'm going to win this bishop, and at that point I'll have a rook and 2 knights against a queen and 2 rooks, which is a slight material edge. So let's see. After rook c1, I took with the knight, which seemed a more natural way. He took. I take. And now he played g takes f3. And the answer is he should play queen takes f3. Okay, another tactic I didn't spot during the game. I guess the problem is if I take the bishop here, I'm in trouble with rook c8 check. I try to bring the rook back to defend, and now he's got queen to d5 check. Ooh, that's nice. Taking advantage of the pinned rook and winning. So queen takes f3 is possible, leaving the bishop undefended because I can't really take it. With the queen on the f-file, I have a serious back rank weakness. So he took with the pawn. Okay, and now finally I have the advantage, I guess. So I play a queen to g5 check. The king moves, and then I go to the f4 square. So I've got the bishop under attack. And in this position, I can take the bishop, and he can't really do anything to take advantage of my back rank. He played his king back to f1, and I took here. He just didn't want to take with check so that he could keep his queen on. But I can trade the queens anyway. So he tried rook e1 that I just traded here, and then I brought my king over as to control the entry points for the rook. And it's pretty straightforward from here. He tries pushing his pawns, but I just have to mop things up. I get my rook to a good position, keeping his king out of the game, going after his queenside pawns. And he kicks my pieces around a bit, but after rook a2, he decided to resign. He's going to lose these pawns, and then I'll be able to queen a pawn and win the game. So that's how the game ended. I thought there were some interesting tactical moments in that one. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you again soon. Bye.